Hello everyone, my name is King Awesome and today I bring you the top 5 decks that you can run for the upcoming No Tilt World Championship. First of all, I'm very glad to see you around here, and if you want to make me even more happier, share this video with people who are on the lookout for a good deck for the 20-win challenge. Before we get into the decks, I would like to make it clear that this isn't a tier list or something like that. All these decks are equally awesome. I've had immense help for this video by Megamorph. Like, he has literally done a lot. So make sure you go check him out. His link will be in the description down below as well as the comment section. Well, with all of that out of the way, let's get into those decks. Splash Yard. The reason why this deck is so good is because, well, it's a splasher. There's a lot of splash in it and the defense is absolutely insane. I would say Splash Yard has actually made a comeback now that there are Royal Hogs, Earthquakes, and Elixir Golems, and Splash Yard just has so many counters to it. I mean, the Bomb Tower, Nado, Ice Witch, Baby Dragon combo can stop almost anything on defense. As I said earlier, Bomb Tower is really good right now because there's a lot of Royal Hogs and Elixir Golems and Hog Riders and all that kind of stuff that the Bomb Tower is really good against. Just that Death Bomb makes it so much better and adds like an extra unit of utility to it, which makes it so much stronger. Obviously, it's the graveyard as a win condition in here. You never want to play that by itself for the most part. You always want to make sure you get down at least a bar barrel for it or knight, because if you don't, it's really easy for the other person to defend it. So the only reason why you would ever want to play a graveyard by itself might be if they are really low on elixir or just that they have nothing good in cycle 4. But otherwise, you always want to get a takedown for it. Let's move on to the early stage game plan. To start off, I would recommend waiting a few seconds to wait for the opponent to make the first play. If there's no response after a while, you can play the Ice Wizard in the back, helping you to cycle your Baby Dragon in hand in case you needed to defend something, or play a Knight or cycle your Barb Barrel. In most situations, you should probably play passively and build up a good elixir lead and take any counter push opportunities that you get. If they play their poison or other counters, then punish them by applying pressure either same lane or opposite lane. Don't ever overcommit too early in the game. Only poison if they give you value by playing a card like minions or the wizards or even archers. Use the tornado wisely and try to activate your king tower fairly early in the game to aid your defense for the rest of the match. Let's move on to the late stage game plan. Double elixir is usually the time you can start to play the graveyard if you haven't already. Majority of the time, you don't win off a single push. You will often rely on 3 or 4 pushes to win. In overtime, you can play more aggressive and even pull units close to the opponent's towers to allow the baby dragon to get some splash damage. You can make prediction spell placements, but give it a second or two before using the poison to support the graveyard because the opponent will be expecting you to place it. Minor Poison Mortar deck. Now, this deck has the offensive capabilities with the traditional mortar bait with bats and goblins plus the minor, and yet it still has the defensive capabilities of the Volkaya plus Musketeer on defense to counter almost anything. Mortar is a building that can be used in defense as well as in offense. As it costs only 4 elixir, you take less risk than deploying an Xbow with 6 elixirs. When you're defending against ram riders, balloons or hog riders, you can drop a mortar in the middle and it can direct their wind conditions straight towards it, while applying aggression and getting some hits on your opponent's towers. Let's move on with the game plan. If you decide to attack with your mortar, two positions are possible. You can place it directly in front of the opponent's tower or in center of the battle area. However, make sure that the mortar connects with your opponent's tower. Nothing is more frustrating than placing a mortar that cannot hit the enemy tower. As you deploy the mortar on your side of the map, your opponent will be forced to deploy troops close to the bridge to block it. Memorize the troops and spells used by your opponent to counter your mortar. Use the mortar in attack when your opponent does not have good cards to counter your mortar in hand. Keep the pressure on as much as possible. It is very important to defend the mortar effectively, and if you didn't know, you can use the mortar as a tank. It will take the damage while your troops behind it defend it from a distance. If your defensive troops survive, make a quick counterattack to put your opponent in trouble. Since mortar inflicts zone damage, it is very effective against log bait decks. It can easily eliminate a princess or a goblin gang. A mortar push plus minor on the opponent's tower will therefore put your opponent in big trouble. In front of a tank like the Golem or the Royal Giant, use the mortar defensively to stop the enemy pushes. Volkaya can easily protect the mortar and take the tower, while you can also be aggro by placing a miner on the opponent's towers. The Musketeer will offer you more protection against air and can defend behind the mortar with its long range. The particularity of this deck is also that it has another win condition, the miner plus poison combo. Depending on the opponent's answers, you will be able to insist on the siege or the miner aspect of the deck. Ice Wizard Golem Beatdown. This is a Golem Beatdown deck that allows you to aggressively play the Golem from the entire match. This deck combines the epic combination of the Baby Dragon, Mega Minion, Ice Wizard, and the Tornado spell, and it allows you to shred opposing pushes and swarms of minion hordes or Skarmies. In addition, with the attack speed of the Lumberjack and the Mega Minion, you can quickly break down ground units looking to stop your Golem. Lastly, with having the Lightning spell in this deck, you are able to play this deck without using the spell, creating more opportunities for you to cycle through your support units and to use the super meta Barbarian Barrel. Who expected that? Now, another huge advantage of this deck is that you have so many cards that can help this deck become a control deck, because you can easily defend and quickly turn around for a fast push. As I noted earlier, you can actually be aggressive with the Golem because you don't necessarily need to use the Lightning spell. Now, the Lightning spell here gives us a lot of versatility, because if you don't need to use it, then your deck becomes a lot more cheaper to cycle through, and that's what happens with the deck. With this deck here, once you throw down your Golem and you use that Lightning spell, all your other cards have a fairly low cost and you're able to defend and stack up. And by using a Tornado, you can pull all the troops in, making it easy for the splash damage from the Mega Minion and the Baby Dragon and the Ice Wizard. Now, I know there's no Night Witch in here, but that does not change anything, because the Ice Wizard has become such a reliable support card in beatdown decks and can provide your tank so much protection from minions and can effectively be used to slow down units when you're trying to recover elixir to defend. Here's the early stage game plan. This deck allows you to play your Golem immediately if you have at least a Baby Dragon or Ice Wizard to support against minion hordes, etc. Best tip I would say is to drop the Golem at the back of the King Tower and let the Golem slowly walk up to the bridge. This allows you to build up 6 to 7 elixir, which will allow you to either defend an opposite lane, opponent push, or you can further support your Golem and break through your opponent's counter push. Leverage your Tornado spell when you have either the Baby Dragon or the Ice Wizard. Additionally, if you don't have those units, you can opt out for the Lightning spell as well for crowd control. Now in the late game, that is double elixir time, same rules apply, but you can be even more aggressive with the Golem and you can consistently support the push with low cost cards that can cycle. I would say that the Barbarian Barrel is golden in double elixir time. Before we move on to the last two decks, consider liking the video if you have found it helpful so far. I would really appreciate that. Classic Log Bait. People have reached number 1 in the world with this deck. The clue is in the name. When trying to master a bait deck, you should try to bait out opponent's counters, mainly small spells like Log. Then you can punish them with your Goblin Barrel, knowing that they don't have a good counter in cycle. Against heavier decks, you'll be easily able to outcycle their counters. Ice Spirit can offer a lot of value for only 1 elixir. It can be used to tank tower damage for the Goblin Barrel, or it can be used to take out units like Bats. Its reset ability works great on defense against units like Prince, Battle Ram, and Inferno Dragon. Knight is a great mini tank and should be used to tank damage for your squishy units, either on defense or offense. If he has a good amount of HP remaining, you should counter push with him, using him as a tank. Spell cycle is a huge part of playing bait deck. Acquiring log chip damage throughout the match is important, provided you won't have to rely on it for defense. Rocket cycling will often be used in overtime. Cycling 2 rockets is possible if you know you can defend in time. However, the safest way to play is to try to get a Princess connection or cycling logs until the tower is in rocket range. It's also important to learn what damage a rocket and log when combined together do, so you never lose a match due to miscalculation of your spell damage. One mistake a lot of people make when using a bait deck is playing too aggressively. Yes, you will need to try to control the tempo of the match, but you also need to ensure that you have enough elixir to defend the opponent's counter push. Alright, let's move on with the early stage game plan. Starting out with this deck, you have a lot of options. You can play Goblin Barrel in the safe spot to see if you can bait out a spell early, or you can even cycle Ice Spirit or Knight in the back. Never waste your log until you know what deck your opponent is playing. You will often need to keep applying pressure even in single elixir. Against heavier decks, you will rely heavily on having the tower damage advantage during single elixir. The Infinite Tower is a vital card in this deck, as even though it has seen its use rate drops, inside this deck it works so well at helping protect your Princess Tower from heavy tank units. It can also be used to kite units like Royal Hogs, Ram Riders, or Hog Rider. You can pair this card with the Ice Spirit to prevent certain units connecting with a charge ability like Battle Ram or Ram Rider or the Prince. It is important to have units ready to support the Inferno Tower to stop them from breaking through your defense. Now, the late stage game plan. A lot of your matches will go into overtime. This is because you will often only require small chip damage throughout the match, and you're working towards getting the tower into rocket range. Don't forget defense is very important, and staggering your units correctly will help prevent giving your opponent good spell value. The match that you are currently watching is between Morton and Surgical Goblin. Both of them are running Logbit. Morton's Logbit is slightly different though, and as you will see, this match is won by Morton. I think Surge would have been able to win this if he would have rocketed the tower before Morton played his Goblin Barrel. 2.9 Xbow, the deck with one of the highest win rates. With Xbow, you need to understand what your opponent is playing before you commit to playing your Xbow. If you play it well enough, you will often only need one successful tower lock with your Xbow for you to win the game. With this deck, even if you are up against a good counter deck, you can often play for the draw. Also, against heavy beatdown decks, you will find that you can outcycle your opponents during the later stages of the game. Here's how you should approach a match with this deck. The expert deck is played passively. In the first few seconds of the game, you have to cycle low-cost elixir cards and determine your opponent's win condition. Some matchups are very unfavorable, mainly the Golem deck and the Royal Giant deck. Against this type of deck, it is better to play defensive Expo next to your tower and defend by investing less elixir than your opponent. Your goal is to lock the Expo onto the opponent's towers. With this deck, it will be nearly impossible to get 3 crowns, but it has a huge defensive capacity. When you feel ready to deploy the Expo within range of the enemy's crown tower, don't force the sequence, and favor situations where you have to support troops deployed earlier. It is highly recommended that the Expo be set up following a good defensive sequence. You will be able to defend opposing pushes with low-cost elixir cards and take advantage of your elixir lead to connect with your Princess Tower and protect your Expo. Remember to never sacrifice one of your towers, because if you do, your opponent will then be able to deploy troops directly near your Expo, which will make it difficult for you to protect your Expo. This version cycles very fast with an average cost in the elixir of 2.9, which allows you to get your Expo in hand very quickly and disturb your opponent's cycle. Cycle your archers behind your king tower at the beginning of the game and watch your opponent's cards. Deploy your test line defense in the middle of your camp in order to lean on its support during a counterattack with the Expo. When you feel that your opponent is in trouble and doesn't have a good cycle, play your Expo at the bridge and defend it at all costs to connect with the opponent's towers. If one of your opponent's towers has less than 700 HP points, then you can finish it off by cycling a couple fireballs and logs. Here's how the late stage game plan goes. Later game, this deck will cycle extremely quickly. So if you have struggled to break through your opponent's defense, then now is the perfect time to outcycle them. If you successfully took a tower in the first 2 minutes, then defensive expos will help you defend, and you can use Tesla to pull enemy units even further away from the tower they are trying to take. The match that we're currently spectating is between Morph and a Golem player. Notice how effectively Morph is able to defeat him, even though being hard countered. And there you go, guys, the top 5 decks that you can run for the upcoming 20-win No Tilt World Championship. Yeah, that's a long name. Now, if you've never played any of these decks before, which is highly unlikely, or are hesitant to try them out in the championship, don't fret. There's 10 days for the challenge as of this video. Even if you're able to practice 20 to 30 matches a day with complete dedication and are trying to get better every match, I am damn sure that you will be able to play any of these decks effectively. If you've stayed this far into the video, I would like to thank you from the depth of my heart. This video has required tons of effort, so hit that like button if you haven't already. Now, I order you to tap subscribe as well for more informative and entertaining videos like these. And yeah, I'm gonna be covering the upcoming Summer Sudden Death Challenge that is like tomorrow. So that's another reason for you to subscribe. And check this out. The mirror battle is available in the party tab. So if you wanna get some wins in there, go check out my detailed video on it. The link will be in the description as well as the card on your top right hand side. Until next time, stay safe and remember, be awesome.